Hello, Bill. How are you?
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Can. Yes, I can.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you to any of our guests or visitors that are tuned in right now on Zoom. Right now, I'm going to invite Louie to unmute and sing the welcome song.
Okay, and certainly I invite all of you Zoomers out there to join in singing and exercise your vocal cords today. Welcome to you from Ames Rotary, Nevada, London, or Gay Paris, from far off lands or the USA. We're glad that you are here today. Come back again whenever you're near. Join us and then we'll make it clear. Around the world you will always be welcome at Rotary.
Thank you, Louie. That was wonderful and way better than I could do. Appreciate you. Let's see. I was just going to say that too. Looks like Karen was so quick at throwing this slide together. Roger mentioned that we are still in need of 6 volunteers for May 19th for the Special Olympics Iowa. If you are able to do so, please check in with Roger, and that would be very helpful. Thank you so much. We have another volunteer opportunity coming up. Karen, switch the slide. The Miracle League of Ames. We are in need of 4 volunteers each Saturday morning to assist with 2 games, the 9 a.m. game and the 10 a.m. game. And that'll be through May 7th through June 18th. You can sign up for one day or you can sign up for every opportunity. You'll just assist with the teams. You might get paired up with a person or with a player. Or you'll assess with like the batting order. So there's all different kinds of volunteer opportunities, but we encourage you to do so. Okay, at this time, I will invite Kent to unmute and introduce our speaker.
Thank you, President Kelsey. Rotary this year has added an environmental services and impact as part of our Rotary wheel, if you will. And on February 21st, we had the opportunity to hear from the Ames Community Climate Action Plan. Today, we get to bookend that program with our speaker. Bill Schmitt has worked for the City of Ames since 2012 and is currently the Superintendent of the Resource Recovery Plant. The facility's been in service since 1975 and is the longest operating municipality-owned waste to energy, acronym is WTE, in the United States. As the only waste to energy system in the state of Iowa, Schmitt has had the opportunity to work with other solid waste professionals across the United States to look at ways to maximize landfill diversion. Utilizing his knowledge, the City of Ames has been able to increase their glass recycling rate by 31%, co-sponsor a community-wide Rummage Rampage event, which over 5 years of the event has diverted over 430,000 pounds of material out of the landfill and has raised 110,000 for local nonprofit agencies. He has helped start a food waste diversion program and the Great Pumpkin Disposal Program to compost pumpkins in the fall. Schmitt has served as a member board of directors for the Iowa Society of Solid Waste Operators since 2020 and the Legislative Committee since 2013. And Mr. William Schmitt, what a privilege and opportunity to have to hear what you have to share with us today. Thank you for taking your time.
Well, thank you, Ken. I really appreciate that. I look forward to this opportunity to talk a little bit about resource recovery, what we do, and how we fit into sustainability within the community. So I'll go on ahead and start in here with a slideshow. Hopefully everyone can see this and can hear me well. I appreciate this opportunity to visit with you and talk about resource recovery, the history of it, some of the programs that resource recovery does throughout the community, our sustainability efforts, and how waste energy fits within the waste management in Ames and within the waste hierarchy from the EPA. As Kent said, Resource Recovery Plant started 46 years ago. It's the oldest municipally owned and operated waste energy facility in the United States. Throughout the history of waste to energy, Resource Recovery has done numerous updates and changes both to the process, to the equipment, and to the facility. This has allowed us to keep current with the newest technology and make sure that we can maximize the amount of material that we're diverting from the landfill and reutilize those resources within the community and save valuable natural resources. This is what EPA calls the waste hierarchy. As you can see, it starts top and moves down, with the top being the most preferred. And when we often talk about waste, we often hear recycling and compost, which are very important. But the first thing that they really want us to think about and talk about is source reduction and reuse. Are we do we buying things that we perhaps don't need, or we can do something different? Maybe we can borrow something from a neighbor or a friend rather than just buying new and then just letting it sit on the shelf. Reuse, that's a really big one. I'll go into that a little bit more on the Rummage Rampage. So often here at Resource Recovery, we see items that have a lot of valuable life, still have useful material left within them that are just discarded, whether it's because someone no longer needs them, things have changed within their life, or they are ready to do some purging and cleaning. We really encourage people to look at those items and say, okay, how can I avoid throwing away? Because that's really the last thing. We want to make sure that things get reused, whether it be through thrift stores, through community members that may need items. So that really that first level, that source reduction and reuse is really the first thing we should think about. The next level, the recycling and composting, is very important. We want to recycle any items that can be, put them back into original form. Composting, the city's been very, we started the new program, as Ken talked about, the food waste diversion program, which has allowed us to keep additional organics out of the waste stream. We've had a rebate program for individuals that would put a composting program in their, whether it be their house or maybe the neighbors get together and put in some chicken wire and some pallets in the backyard. We've got a rebate program to help offset some of the cost of that, but we heard a lot of comments from other community members that they either live in an apartment or rent a home, or they just don't have the time or knowledge to actually want to do composting. So we started a program, it'll be 3 years ago this July, which allowed people to collect their own organics and then drop them off here at the Resource Recovery Plant. We work with an industrial composting company. They come pick that material up, and then they take it and they turn it into compost. So we're able to really keep a lot of that material out of the waste stream. After recycling and compost comes energy recovery, and that's what we do with our waste energy system here in the city of Ames. The system is made up of multiple components. The first one being, which a lot of people think is the entire system, is the Resource Recovery Plant. That's where the waste comes to us. We process that waste, remove the items that are not beneficial to the power plant. We pull the ferrous metal, non-ferrous metal out and recycle those. And then the burnable portion goes over to the power plant. So between all the recycling we do with the metal and the burnable portion of the power plant, we're able to keep 65 to 70% of what people throw into the waste stream out of the landfill, which is, it's pretty amazing to think that we've been doing that here in this community since 1975. The last item that is available in the waste hierarchy is really disposal in landfill. And as we look at the waste hierarchy, we really need to take all three of these steps to reduce what goes to landfills. One step alone can't take care of everything. So I really want people to keep that in mind as they look at their waste stream. Some of the things that you can do to really reduce your environmental footprint is don't buy disposable goods such as paper plates, cups, plastic. Go on ahead and use plates that can be washed, cups that can be washed, silverware that can be washed. That really reduces the amount of impact on the environment. Use cloth bags or reusable grocery bags. Go on ahead and use those resealable containers. As we all, or I shouldn't say all, I remember growing up, it was quite often there were containers that you didn't throw those away because you could always use them for leftovers and put them in the refrigerator. And you just want to make sure when you pulled them out, you knew what you're actually getting out. Sometimes what was in the cart, what said the carton wasn't actually what it was. If you can, use a water bottle instead of buying water. Ames has very good water here. Same thing with coffee mugs. Use cloth napkins instead of paper napkins, dishcloths instead of paper towels. Buy products in bulk if you can use them all up. A lot of stores now will email receipts to you rather than printing them off. And you can also reduce your direct mail, the amount of material that you get from the post office. That can help you reduce your amount of trash that you get. These are just some minor things you can do. And as you look through a lot of these items, a lot of these are things that maybe our parents or grandparents have done in the past, using plates and napkins. And it just, as we've tried to get more convenience in the world, we've tended to generate more waste while doing that. Lori Hansen, our educator here, she talks quite often. She says, when I was growing up, we'd go out and play in the yard, and we'd get done playing. We'd come into the house and tell Mom we're thirsty, and she'd make us Kool-Aid. She'd get out the package of Kool-Aid. She'd get the bag of sugar and a pitcher of water. She'd mix it up and we'd have Kool-Aid. Well, that's pretty good, but you have to have the sugar and you have to have the Kool-Aid, and it takes time. So we want that a little quicker, a little more convenient. So companies trying to do what they can to keep customers happy. They decide, well, we can pre-mix that for you and we can ship it to you. So then you're getting a big jug of Kool-Aid that you can pour out. Well, that was pretty good, but then you got a big jug and you got kids that are spilling stuff. So, well, why don't we put it in a squeeze pouch or a squeeze box? And you went from having that Kool-Aid package that you threw away, that now you've got squeeze boxes with plastic straws that are all wrapped up inside of a cardboard box with more plastic around the outside of them. And you still got the same volume, but you got so much additional waste with them. But it's just part of convenience. That's what we've asked from our companies, and they have done a great job of marketing it to us. At the resource recovery plant, we're responsible for a number of things here. There's actually not been a municipal solid waste landfill in Story County since 1996. The last landfill was owned and operated by the city of Ames. Resource recovery plant is responsible for the operation and maintaining the integrity of the landfill. We have to handle all the leachate that comes out of the landfill. As you can imagine, a landfill is really just like a giant garbage bag with stuff that's decomposing in it. We have an arrangement with the city of Ames, so all of our leachate goes into the city sewer and goes down to the water treatment plant. It gets treated there to make sure that there's no harmful chemicals that get into the environment. We've been working very closely with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. When the landfill was closed, they give you a 30-year permit to monitor the landfill. And we actually we're able to close that permit out early and switch over to an environmental covenant from the fact that our landfill is very stable. There has not been any changes in water levels or leachate or any problems with it. So we're able to change that to environmental covenant, which really doesn't mean a whole lot other than there's actually filed on the deed or with the property is that there cannot be any homes on it. There cannot be any water wells put in or in that area that would damage the landfill. So it also pertains to the property around it. But we're very proud that we were able to get that done before the 30-year time frame and work very closely with the Department of Natural Resources on it. The resource recovery plan itself is managed by the City of Ames Public Works Department. There are actually 14 different government agencies within Story County that bring their post-consumer recycled waste to us for processing. This is kind of interesting because by Iowa code, each municipality or government agency is responsible for the waste that's generated in their area. So we have a 28E, which is an intergovernmental agreement that where the majority of the communities here within the county and Story County rural area, all their waste comes to us and we handle, as I talked about earlier, in a responsible, sustainable, and local manner to make sure that we do not have a negative impact on the environment. As I talked earlier about the processing, we're able to recover almost 5% of the metal material that people throw away as metal, ferrous metal and non-ferrous system. We have a number of ferrous magnets throughout our facility to capture that metal. So if some gets by the first one, we have 4 more after to make sure that we get the majority of that material out. We have a non-ferrous system, which is called an eddy current system. And it's has a series of rotating magnets that rotate in opposite direction, 2 different series. And what that does is that repels the non-ferrous material. So as the material is going to the top of the magnets, it pushes it further. And that allows us to separate off the aluminum, copper, and the brass. And we're able to take those materials and work through a metal recycler and get those recycled. So it works very well. We have seen quite an uptick here in the last few years on the number of cans that we see come through our system. And I see the Iowa legislature is currently working on the bottle bill. We'll see whether that changes the amount here. But I know there's been a number of people that say that they just are challenged to try and get their can deposits back and they just throw them away. And when I explain to them, we pull them out of that system, they're very thankful that they're able to at least keep that out of the landfill. They prefer to have their nickel back, but they feel very good knowing that they're not contributing to material going into a landfill. Of the material they receive, some material is not beneficial to the power plant. The wood is really, you would think, wood burns, it would be good for the power plant, but their boilers are designed for coal-fired boilers. And what that means is the coal was actually ground to almost the consistency of flour, and it was blown into the boiler, and they would literally have a fireball within the boiler. As the coal would get blown in, it would combust inside that fireball. So the RDF is injected just right at the top of that fireball, and it falls through that fireball and lands on grates in the bottom. The RDF has to be consumed within that fireball because when it lands on the bottom, other ash material lands on top of it. So if it's not consumed, it doesn't get burned. It doesn't have that time to burn. So there's a lot of things like textiles, wood that are really challenged to burn in a really short period of time there. So with that, there's material that we can't use that we have to separate out, and that has to go directly to the landfill. Over the last 20 years, there's been 580,000 tons of RDF we've been able to divert from the landfill. Without the resource recovery plant here, that would have just gone straight to a landfill and been buried. We've been able to recycle over 37,000 tons of metal, both ferrous and non-ferrous metal. And this has been able to kept in the metals market and has allowed quite a significant savings without having to have the metal ore mined and processed. 2,200 tons of glass have been recycled. We've got an excellent program that we work with Ripple Glass out of Kansas City, Missouri. They come up and pick up the glass. They have a process down there where they break the glass in about 3/8 inch chips. They run it over optical sorters. They pull out the brown glass and it's sent to a glass manufacturer where they use it to make beer bottles for Boulevard Brewing. The rest of the glass is fine ground and that is taken to Owens Corning, where they use it to make fiberglass insulation. So over 99% of what we collect is able to be reused and recycled through the glass program, which is fantastic. I really appreciate community's effort in recycling and dropping that material off. Household hazardous waste. We have really good participation with that. We're a satellite location for Metro Waste Authority out of Des Moines. And we are the largest satellite location by far of all the ones that they have. We're not the largest by population, but the community here really supports that and understands the importance of keeping those hazardous chemicals out of the waste stream and out of the landfill, and giving them to us and making sure that we can get them taken care of and handled properly. We did add additional drop-off times. In the past, we've always done it on a Wednesday afternoon. We changed our staff around a little bit. Now we're also able to offer that on Saturday mornings. So we do household hazardous waste drop-off by appointments on Wednesday afternoon and Saturday morning. Food waste diversion, as I talked about, that's something that started in 2019. Last year alone, we kept almost 65,000 pounds of material food waste out of the landfill. And this is very important because the food waste, the majority, as you can see, kind of an example there, is small material that's going to fall through our process, and the vast majority of that would go to the landfill, where it will decompose and generate methane, which is a very potent greenhouse gas. So any of that material that we can keep out of the waste stream and out of the process greatly benefits and reduces our greenhouse gas emissions. We've, as the program has grown, we've had to use larger containers, and we actually now have the container located outside our facility. It's at the northeast corner of our facility at 420 East 2nd Street. We sell a bucket that you can use, a green bucket you can use to bring the material in, but please feel free to use anything you've already got at home. Ice cream pail, some people have buckets in the garage. Some people just use a grocery bag and stick it in the freezer, and then they bring that out and dump it out and throw the grocery bag in the garbage can that we have out there. We just ask that you please keep any plastic out of the waste stream, because that, of course, doesn't compost and does create challenges as they get further on down the road in the process of it. Great pumpkin disposal. This is one that a lot of these programs started because they were challenges for us. You may imagine, you see this is a picture of about 13,000 pounds of pumpkins being disposed of at our yard waste site. You start getting pumpkins on the floor and they get smashed, and the floor gets really slick and it's not very safe. And we were trying to look to see what we could do to improve the safety of our tipping floor and make sure they could handle it the best way possible. And we were able to work with our yard waste vendor, and they take those and they compost them out. Over the years, we've had a few people take some for goats and for other pets to use to play with, but it's amazing how much we can divert from the waste stream. And it's all by drop off. We have the drop off here at our facility, usually about the last week of October till the 1st of December, for people to drop off their Halloween pumpkins and Christmas displays. We'll get pumpkins, squash, gourds, corn stalks that people have had tied up. Those can certainly be composted too. So we include those too, but it's a lot of fun, and we've got some very artistic and people that are very good at carving pumpkins and adorning them. We had one pumpkin that was completely bedazzled, which is I'd never seen before, but it was very interesting. Rummage Rampage. This is the event Kent talked a little bit about. It's an event that we started to kind of do something similar to what Iowa City has done in the past over their event. As many of you know, towards the end of July, first part of August, many of the leases in the apartments around town come due, and we get a lot of people moving or moving out or changing. And there's a lot of material that just gets stuck out on the curb. And as I've talked about, as we see come through here, a lot of that material still has useful life to it. So we were able to work with the university and use the intermodal facility at 129 Highland, or excuse me, Hayward, and the lower level. And we allow really anyone within the community to drop material off. We'll take household items, couches, chairs, dining room, kitchen items, bathroom items, all those items we take, and we have volunteer agencies that work the event. We track their hours, and then the proceeds are used and split up amongst those agencies by the number of hours they volunteer. And this has been a great way for us to really keep a lot of materials. You can see 430,000 pounds of material diverted from the landfill in five different times. So from inception to where it is now, it's just mind-boggling how much material we've been able to divert from the landfill. And we just had a planning meeting last week, and as one of the guys said there at the meeting, he said it's almost like a family reunion. We have so many people that have worked the event for a number of years. And if you have or know of any organizations that want to work the event, we just ask that they work a minimum of 10 hours, and then they get a split of the proceeds depending upon the number of hours that they work for the event. Some of the other things we do here at the Resource Recovery Plant, we've got to drop off United States flags. We had noticed some years ago that we were seeing some flags disposed of in the waste, which isn't appropriate. So we did an education program and realized there really weren't too many places that had flag drop-offs. So we started a flag drop-off here. The American Legion also has a drop-off box outside of their facility right now on Main Street too, to allow people to drop off their flags. And then we work with a number of different organizations to make sure that those flags are retired properly. It's been well received, and we appreciate that's one of the things that we can do. This is probably the less glamorous part of our job, but we actually do waste audits. Periodically, we will go through the material that is brought into us, and we will sort it down to the smallest parts. So we know how much paper, how much cardboard, how much metal, how much organics we're getting in. And then we can kind of see where we need to put our focus as we move forward and make sure that we're emphasizing the right areas. We're currently coming to the end of our waste energy study. As I said, we've been in operation since 1975. We've been able through remodeling and expansion to increase capacity of our facility, but the power plant is really maxed out on what they can burn at their facility or combust. And through the study, we're looking at a minimum of 5 options that we can look at to potentially look at the next 20 years of how we can handle waste sustainably and make it work well for our community. I'm going to hope that in May or June, we'll have a report to council where they can take a look at that and see what options the consultant has reviewed and come up with. As I talked a little bit earlier, we also have the rebate for compost programs. We work very closely with stormwater. They have quite a number of rebates for native plants, soil restoration, and trees. So we're happy to be part of that process and rebates program. Our public outreach, we do a lot. Last 2 years, it's been reduced on the elementary school nights, but we were able to keep Stash the Trash going, which is an event actually be coming up on April 30th. We'll have a roll-off down on the south end of Jack Trice Stadium between there and Raymond Gardens. We're currently have trash bags and gloves for people to pick up here at Resource Recovery and at City Hall at the main entrance. And we're encouraging people to go out and pick up around their neighborhood or park, and then they can take their trash down to that dumpster and drop it off. We're going to have the dumpster down there all weekend. We'll put it down there Friday morning. So if people want to pick up anytime that Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and we'll pick it up on Monday on May 1st, we encourage people to do that. And as I said, it doesn't have to be done there. We just encourage people to pick up trash anytime they can. During that event, there's also going to be a river cleanup on the Iowa Creek from Grand Avenue up to Hunsacker. But we also participate with a number of other groups within Story County Paddlers, Outdoor Alliance. We work with them also on stream cleanups to make sure we keep our waterways clean. Our Department of Natural Resources has Project Aware, which is an event where they go and pick out a stream, and they'll work for 5 days actually paddling down a stream and cleaning up. We've been able to work with them for quite some time now. They recycle everything they can, but they oftentimes have dirty plastic that cannot be recycled. We're able to take that material here, run it through our process, and then use it to generate electricity. So again, we're keeping that material out of the landfill. Eco Fair is where we get a lot of the city departments and some of the businesses around town to talk about sustainability. We will be doing that. It sounds like October this fall is what we're scheduled to get that back on track and going again. Eco Chats, I'll have a little more information about that, but that's a program where we have different departments talk about sustainability items within the department. We work with the library. They kind of host the event and record it and have it available for people to watch. We also work quite a bit with Iowa State University. We're going to be down there this Friday outside of Parks Library to talk about Earth Day and what the city does. We work with sustainability and Green Umbrella with a number of different projects and really enjoy working with their staff and students. Some of the things internally we've done within resource recovery. When you talk about hybrid vehicles, you normally don't think about loaders, but we've got a very large John Deere loader, which is a hybrid loader. The wheels are driven with electric motors, which allows us to have greatly improved fuel economy. We had a smaller loader than this, and this larger loader actually uses less fuel than the smaller loader did. So it's allowed us to really reduce our carbon footprint here with the loader and be more sustainable. Even though the building was built in 1975, we went through and retrofit all of our lighting to LED to reduce our energy consumption. And our primary shredder we changed out in 2014. It had a 4,160 volt, 1,000 horsepower motor that drove that shredder direct drive motor. We were able to change it out with two 480 volt motors with hydraulic drive, which greatly reduced our electrical demand, and especially the peaks because we didn't have that direct drive motor involved with it. Some of the other things that we've done is we installed a brand new HVAC system with an energy recovery ventilator to reduce our energy demand there on the system. Put in new energy efficient windows on the west side of our facility. Our roll-off truck, we in the past always used 30-yard roll-offs, which means it's a volume of material that we can haul. With our new truck, we size larger boxes, so we switched from 30 yards to 40 yards, which allows us to haul 33% more material with every trip, which reduces the number of trips and again reduces our greenhouse gas emissions. Our Pollinator Gardens, we have a lot of perennials in there to reduce water and fertilizer requirements, and also to increase the pollinators. We get quite a few milkweeds, and we get quite a few butterflies every year visiting there and laying eggs and having caterpillars go through there. For shop rags, rather than buying the paper rags, kind of talked about earlier, we work with a number of organizations to take textiles, clothes, shirts that are no longer usable, and they cut those materials up, and that's what we use for rags then. So we don't have to use paper products, and we're able to give one more life to those materials. Marketing materials, we'd like to use as much sustainable materials as we can. We've had one item that people have been really pleased and like to have. It's a keychain that the center it's made out of bamboo, and the outside of it is a recycled bicycle chain. A lot of people really appreciate that, like that. We give away pencils that are made from recycled newspaper, so it's been really nice to have those. We are actually a collection hub, as I talked about, for our glass recycling. But not only do we take the glass from Story County, we also take glass from Boone County, Hamilton, Hardin, Marshall County, and we have them haul that glass to us. Since all we're doing is just storing it and Ripple picks it up from us, it's really no extra cost to us, but allows them to collect the glass and bring it to us, because a number of them said if we don't have enough volume to do it, but since we can take it to you, they're continuing that in their communities and allowing them to recycle glass. So it's nice to be able to support recycling from other communities also. We have a bioswale on the east side of our facility to improve water quality from any water runoff. Once again, just trying to make sure we're good stewards of the environment. We're, as Ken talked about, the climate action planning is going on right now. They're looking with the Strategic Input Committee and City Council on setting goals and how to meet those goals. We had Pale Blue Dot do actually the greenhouse gas force inventory for us 2016 and 2018. And they pointed out that landfill has a significantly higher greenhouse gas emission rates, that comparing it to RDF that we're doing here, even though we're combusting the RDF, the emission rates at a landfill are 48% higher than would be from RDF. So it's really important to look at how we can do right, reduce the waste, recycling and compost I talked about, and then maximizing the efficiency of waste energy plant. And that's something we're always looking at how we can be more efficient, how we can get more material recovered and out of the landfill. I thought I'd just kind of show you some other waste to energy facilities. This is actually a waste energy facility, a fairly new one. It's just been open in the last 5 years in Copenhagen, Denmark. It may look a little funny, but yes, this is actually a ski hill that they built into the top of the waste energy plant. They have a huge park over here. They have a brewery up here and a restaurant down lower. It's, even though it's a waste energy plant, it's a park for the city, and they really embrace that. Denmark as a country has done a great job with their waste between reusing and reducing, recycling, composting, and waste to energy. Only 4% of their waste goes to a landfill, which is just fantastic. Another example here is from Austria. This facility was originally built in 1960 and went through a major remodel in 1980. I mean, it almost kind of looks like something you would see at Disneyland, you know, kind of a children's castle of sorts, but it's interesting what you can do and what can be done with different architecture and waste energy facilities. And finally, just a few things that are coming up. There's going to be Eco Chat this Thursday, the 21st. They're going to be talking about supporting the pollinators that are coming back in this spring. Bird-friendly community, which Ames has been working on. Water Plant's going to have an open house this Saturday from 10 to 2. As I said, Stash the Trash is April 30th. And then the no charge yard waste day for drop off of yard waste and small brush is April 30th at the yard waste site, 400 Field Drive. So that's all I've got. I'll open it up to any questions anyone may have.
Does
So I have a
anyone-
question.
Go ahead.
I was going to type it in the chat, but I talk faster than I type. Hi, Bill. This is Jean Cressy from United Way. Nice to see you. And so I know that you talked early on about paper products and not, you know, going from paper towels or going to towels from paper towels and paper plates and stuff. But don't you want to burn that at the resource recovery plant for energy?
We can burn it. That certainly doesn't create any problems for us. It's just that there's more of an environmental impact with the paper products as they're manufactured, shipped, and brought here versus the cloth items that can be reused. But yes, that's not a problem for us. And that's one of the things when we talk with people about recycling, you know, they say, well, you need to recycle everything. Well, there's some items such as pizza boxes, you know, if someone has used a paper plate, you know, pretty much once food's touched it, that cannot be recycled and reused. So that's why we talk about the options of using cloth material. But yes, if it doesn't always work out, you know, if you're out in a picnic in a park somewhere, you're not going to necessarily carry your good china with you and your good silverware. I think I might have lost one of Mom's spoons years ago, but you're going to want to have maybe something that's a little more usable, user-friendly. And yes, we're certainly here to take those items and recover the energy from them.
Bill, this is Lisa. I believe after the first derecho, hard to believe I'm saying that, but after the first derecho, that you had, I think it was behind the building for people to bring, like if their freezers went out, spoiled foods and stuff. do you still have that, or are you encouraging the buckets for composting to bring in?
We still have that program. Yes, there's a large 3-yard dumpster there on the northeast corner of the building where people can bring any of those items in like that and dispose of them there. We do have some people that, you know, their refrigerator stops working or their freezer stops working, you know, and they'll bring a lot of food in at one time. But
Sure.
yes, you can either use a bucket, your own pail, or whatever you want to make sure it's taken care of.
Great, thank you.
Bill, you've got some questions there in the chat if you want to read
Yep.
those.
Yes, question here about possibility of power plant in the future, greater capacity of burning RDF. That's one of the things that the consultant is looking at in the report, is what that would look like, how much capacity we need. Currently, as I said, the way the boilers are designed, they burn 90% fuel with 10% RDF. What they're looking at is probably a design where they could burn just simply the RDF or simply the waste. They would not have to burn any additional fossil fuels with it. So that's one thing. Yes, they are looking very, very closely at that. There are 73 other waste energy operations in the United States. I believe the largest one is at West Palm Beach. They handle 3,000 tons of municipal solid waste a day at their facility. They have 2 facilities, one RDF and a new modern mass burn facility that was just brought online here in the last 6 years. So yes, they handle a lot of material through their facility there. Question here on studies comparing life cycle cost in dollars per ton between RDF and traditional landfill operations. I'm not aware of anything directly. I think one of the questions is really the long-term impact of landfills, you know, trying to make sure how they are handled and making sure the material, the leachate, is handled properly. It's just been within the last 20 years that they started using subtitle D landfills. Before that, they were really more of just a dump, a trash pit, and now they're handled much differently. And so they don't have a lot of history with that on the emission side and on the long-term impact on cost dollars there. Electronics recycling options available. Last I knew, Best Buy was accepting computers and computer monitors and computer peripherals, taking those and demanufacturing and selling those components as part of their mission. I don't know, we will accept TVs here currently. We do not recycle them. We run them through our process, and our eddy current pulls what metal is out of those. We are currently looking at potentially putting in a separate charge for that, and working with Boone County because they have started a recycling program for televisions on their site. So that's something we're researching to see where we'll go with that. We do accept appliances here, refrigerators, microwaves, deep freezes, dehumidifiers. We accept those. There's a $20 fee per appliance for those because those need to be demanufactured. Yes, the material that's left over from the process still does go to the Boone County landfill. We've been working with them. We're in the process of working through a new agreement to have that continue. And we will see how the potential changes the waste energy system the consultant recommends, excuse me, they're not going to recommend, but different options they have, and see how that may impact the amount of material that goes to the Boone County landfill. Are we prepared to handle batteries from electric cars and trucks? Currently, we are not. Most of that's being handled either through the dealerships or through the manufacturers of the batteries due to the size of the batteries. That's something that we'll have to see how that technology evolves. Lead acid batteries for conventional cars, there's a very mature system for how that's handled and how that works. Process we're working on now is the battery chemistry, even on lithium ion batteries, changes so quickly. We all want our phones to be smaller and the batteries to last longer. So there's different chemical makeup in almost every phone battery that comes out, which makes it more challenging to process and recycle those batteries. We're currently working with several professors at Iowa State University. They've applied for a grant. We're working with them in support role on battery recycling on lithium ion batteries. So we're looking forward to hopefully having a better way to handle those in the future. You can take appliances down to Bell Salvage for disposal there. They are charging $10, and we encourage, I should say we encourage, we certainly tell people when they drop appliances off here, there are other options within the town. I think Mike Lewis Salvage also takes appliances too. I don't know what they charge, but I know Bell is $10 an appliance, so you can certainly take appliances there also and dispose of them. Good question here from Kent. Any thoughts of consolidating all the trash pickup options we utilize? Seems there would be cost, service, environmental impact. Great question, Kent. And the city council has posed that question back to city staff. We are waiting until we get done with the waste energy option study, which I said should hopefully be here in the next month and a half. And then we will take a look at that. There's a number of things we're going to look at from what does the city have the legal authority to do? Would it be a open system, which is currently have right now? Would there be some sort of a system where some communities select a hauler and use them? Some communities look at splitting the system up into what they call zones, and then letting the haulers bid on those zones to support the collection of waste, recycling, organics collection, yard waste. So we are certainly looking at that, and we'll be taking information back to the council to allow them to help make an informed decision. And Jeannie added multiple trucks several times a week are very hard on the streets. That is very true, especially on asphalt overlay streets. Multiple trucks do create additional wear and tear with those trips throughout the week, picking material up.
Any more questions?
Last question for you, Bill, because I asked you this last August.
I had most of
We have a few women in our club, and so the big question is on glass recycling. How do we recycle fingernail polish bottles?
You can just put them in with the rest of the glass. That's no problem. Even there's even if it's dried up fingernail polish and the bottle's still half full, that's certainly fine. Same way with candles. You don't have to get all the wax out of the bottom of a candle jar. If there's wax in the bottom, that's fine. Just throw it in there. Through their process, they will remove that material.
Thank you.
Wow. Good question, Jean. Okay, no more questions. Well, Bill, thank you so much for that presentation. It was very enlightening in so many ways. We really appreciate your time and your efforts going into that presentation. So thank you
Certainly.
so very much.
I would encourage, if anyone wants to take a tour, please feel free to give us a call. We're always glad to give tours.
Oh, awesome. Rotary outing. Sounds like a blast. Thank you very much. And I don't have any more announcements, so let's go ahead and stand for
Yes.
the four-way test. Are the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Is what?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Would be
Will it
related.
be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great week.